Hello and welcome to episode 210 of the Casual Tryhard Podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm James.
And today we're doing like a mini set review and revisiting our discussion of Toxic.
Yeah, we had some questions in Discord about not like how Toxic works, but how we think it's going to play. And I guess we didn't talk about it enough last week, so we're going to revisit that. And then we're going to kind of split up our set review episode a little bit. We're going to do some of the higher rarity stuff today, and then finish out the balance of the set next week. Seems like our set review episodes always go super duper long, so trying to split it up a little bit.
Yeah, we can break it up. Give you an hour now and an hour and a half later.
Instead of 3 hours of Midnight Hunt set review.
Yeah. Oof.
That was a rough episode.
It's too long. So if you want to get at us on social media, tell us what's going on, throw in what cards you're interested about for this set, feel free to reach out to us. Twitter, Facebook, Discord, all that stuff is in the description.
Yeah, like Brian said, if there's anything that you want us to specifically talk about, any cards you're specifically interested, let us know. If you're looking to support the show, there's two different ways you can do that. The first is with our TCG player affiliate link, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. Follow that link on over to TCG player, and anything you purchase after that, we'll get a small cut of. Help keep the show going. We'd really appreciate it, and doesn't cost you guys anything. If you're looking to support us more directly, you can do so at patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg. Patrons get access to our show notes, so you know kind of what the upcoming show is going to be about. I usually try and get them out on Tuesdays, so that you know by Thursday what we're going to be talking about. Patrons also get access to our pre-show. It's kind of just an hour of us catching up, talking about the show, making sure our equipment works, whatever. But we record it and throw it out there completely unedited for our patrons. They like that. If it's something that sounds good to you, chip a couple bucks in over at patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg. Let us know that you appreciate our work. And then we also have our YouTube channel, Casual Tryhard MTG on YouTube. Brian does limited content there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can watch the show there on Thursdays. That's especially important for episodes like this one where we're talking about cards, because I do my best to put the cards up on the screen while we're talking about them, so you can kind of follow along. And don't forget to check out Tomfoolery Tuesdays, where I play mainly Historic Brawl. It seems like that's what people want to see the most, so it's what I've been playing. So check that out on Tuesdays. We got you covered any weekday. Yeah.
And he's a good man, Charlie Brown. When his opponents concede on turn 2, he's like, we're not going to use this video.
Yeah.
I know, in other words, he makes sure you get good content.
Yeah, it takes a shockingly long amount of time to record one of those videos. Normally they end up about half an hour, but it's realistically about 2.5 hours of playtime.
Whew.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
Lots of concessions. So many concessions.
So we're not going over all the rares. We're going over some of kind of the things they have recently spoiled kind of before Monday.
Mm-hmm.
What is today? The 23rd? So before Monday the 23rd, to like kind of the first week of spoilers, we're going over some of the stuff that we had talked about, and we're going to do the Toxic discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So first, since it's getting highlighted in the sheet and I skipped it, we're going to talk about Toxic. I saw it light up. I got ahead of myself.
I was getting ready to move it.
That's right. No, that's fine. So, people wanted to know kind of how Toxic would play.
Yeah, there was a couple different people that had asked how we thought Toxic was going to play. So I kind of want to preface this with, we don't know how it's going to play until we play with it. And we don't have like all of the cards yet, so we don't really know
like how supported it is.
Yeah, like what the tools are that we have.
So first we have like limited.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to do the differences from Infect first? Or do you want to do like formats first?
It's up to you.
Let's just do the differences from Infect first, just so we can
So we have
So
a
everyone kind of
baseline.
knows. Yeah, have a baseline. So in fact, the amount of poison counters the creature gave to the player
Mhm.
was based on the creature's power.
Right.
And toxic, it's based on the toxic number.
Right.
So if you have a creature with toxic 1 and you cast a giant growth on it, so it's a 1/1 with toxic 1, and now you made it a 4/4, it still just has toxic 1 and deals 1 damage.
One poison counter.
Toxic damage.
Yep.
1 poison counter. The difference is infect creatures never dealt life total damage.
Correct.
Toxic that 4 power attacker with toxic 1 will deal 4 damage to your opponent's life total, so they'll go from 20 to 16.
And
Plus,
a poison
they'll
counter.
get 1 poison counter.
Okay, so what does that mean as far as like how it's going to play? Like
So,
by itself, just that part.
I think that the biggest difference is like if you in like a constructed format, if you were trying to like make a toxic deck, you want to rely on cards that give double strike, not cards that pump power.
Right.
Right. You have to hit twice to double the amount of counters you're giving, as opposed to just, making your creature big.
Mhm.
So with Infect, right, you have to deal 10 poison counters.
Right.
So with Infect, if you a giant growth kind of scaled to 20 damage, effectively kind of becomes +6/+6.
Right.
Right, because you need half as many poison counters. That doesn't change anything. Like, giant growth is properly balanced for toxic. Right? Where it was not properly balanced for infect. Because if I told you had a 1 mana +6/+6, you'd be like, oh my god, that's amazing.
The reprinted become immense?
Yeah. Right. And infect got scale up, which made their creatures 6/4s. So now your Glistener Elf is dealing 6 infect damage.
Right.
So now you're almost dead on turn 2.
Yep.
So
More than halfway.
it is more that infect, you were all in. Right? I think we've all have seen or participated in a game of Modern a million years ago when infect was playable. Sorry, Cameron. That someone got to 8, 9 infect, and then the infect player didn't have any more infect creatures.
Right. Everything
and
was
then
handled.
Then they were like, well, you're at 13 because you didn't really respect your life total. So now I'm going to put these pump spells on my Noble Hierarch, and it's Noble Hierarch beats time.
Yep.
And we've all kind of seen that happen. And that's not something that you're gonna have to deal with toxic, because you've been dealing both kind of damage. So if they're ignoring their life total because they're afraid you're gonna toxic them out, right, you're still dealing regular damage. So maybe they're only at 6 life instead of 13, and they have 7 poison counters.
Yeah.
Right, and you're like, okay, I can deal 6 damage with these creatures that actually deal regular damage.
So, kind of piggybacking on that, I'm going to change the order of these around a little bit too, and let's talk about Corrupted, because okay, hang on, let me go back one thing, and then we'll go to Corrupted. There's another way where Toxic is different from Infect, and that's that Toxic doesn't disincentivize your opponent from blocking.
Yes.
Infect, if you block a creature with Infect, your creature is going to get -1/-1 counters instead of damage. Which, even if, you're trying to trade off for the Infector, or, you kill the Infector or whatever, those -1/-1 counters are going to stick around. So that's like a real deterrent to you blocking an Infect creature. Whereas with Toxic, there is no deterrent from blocking. So your opponent, if you're the Toxic player, your opponent is more willing to block your Toxic creature than they would be an Infect creature.
Yeah, because the effectively with Infect, your damage doesn't go away.
Yeah,
It just stacks up on your creatures.
And also like can kill indestructible stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So then Corrupted, like where I was gonna go with that is, I think Toxic is balanced for Corrupted, and I think we'll see more of this as the set like gets spoiled and as we start to play with it. But I don't like, just at face value, I don't think Toxic is good enough to like win a game. I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be games decided by poison counters, but I don't know that like a dedicated Toxic deck is going to be a thing. I think that it's balanced more to like get your opponent a poison counter or two and then proliferate once or twice and then turn on your Corrupted stuff.
Yeah. I think I worry that the Corrupted stuff isn't good enough for Constructed, because there is always a really high barrier for cards that may do nothing,
right?
/ have a severely diminished effect in Constructed. Like, you don't want to draw 3 cards that are contingent on you drawing a 4th.
Yeah.
Right? Unless that 4th card wins you the game.
Mm-hmm.
And like having a removal spell that is but becomes great, right? If you wouldn't put the card in your deck, you probably won't play it because, well, if I get 3 infect counters or 3 poison counters on them, then awesome, now I have a really good removal spell.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I guess it depends on what the front end of the Corrupted things are.
I agree with you. I think you're right, but I think you missed my point.
Okay.
I didn't mean that. Like, I have no idea how good Corrupted is going to be because we don't have all the cards and we haven't played with any of this stuff. I meant more from like a balance perspective. Like when they're putting the numbers on the cards, I've seen an awful lot of creatures with very low toxic values and there's a lot of proliferate stuff. So I think what you're going to see is that's the way things were, like that's the way the knobs were tweaked. They weren't trying to make games decided based on poison counters. I think they were trying to make Corrupted stuff work.
Gotcha. It could be. Like, I think that I feel like there's enough toxic stuff that I think there could be a standard deck that could work. Particularly, we're not talking about it this week, but there's a big dumb undercosted green beater with toxic.
Yeah.
That effectively has toxic too.
Oh, and so that's another thing that we didn't bring up when we were talking about differences with Infect is trample. Like if you trample over for 1 point and your creature has toxic 3, they're still getting 3 poison counters, where with Infect they would only get the 1.
Yeah, it's any damage you deal, they get that many toxic.
Yep.
Like I think there might be, it depends on what the other 1 to 2 to 4 toxic rares / do they have some dumb toxic mythic that has toxic 3 or some garbage?
Yeah, I think we have all the mythics.
Okay, but you know what I mean, some higher rarity card that they're just oh, we can take the gloves off for this, and it's and people just buy 4 of them, and this becomes your format.
Right.
I was oh, it was balanced for limited, but I didn't think about that. So if there is some dumb higher rarity thing that you're just oh man, this is misery.
Yeah.
Why did they print this? So in limited, I think toxic. No, I didn't play with Infect in a million years ago when it was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't
in limited. But as I was listening to Arena Deck List, and they brought up a good point, which is it is super hard and limited to have all of your creatures have infect.
Yeah.
Right. Even if you're in the infect set, like think about if you're trying to build a prowess deck in limited, how many prowess creatures realistically of your 15 to 17 creatures are you going to have?
Right.
5, 6, and you're like, oh, I'm doing it. Right. So if you extend that to like, if you compare that to like infect, if you have 5 or 6 infectors, that means you have 5 or 6 creatures that are doing poison counter damage.
Right.
And then 10 creatures that are doing regular damage. So it's really hard to go all in on I'm going to do infect because maybe you only draw 2 of your infect creatures. And they both get killed. Now you've like attacked 3 times and effectively done no damage because now you're on the normal damage beatdown plan.
Yeah. So I guess at least for limited, it kind of makes sense that toxic is balanced for corrupted, not for killing with poison. Because it's a lot easier to do, and you don't need as many infectors.
Yeah, like if you have 2 or 3, if you have those 5 infect creatures, it's pretty easy to get to presumably 3 infect counters, or like you said, 1. And if you look at the costs of some of the cards in the set, proliferate seems to cost 0 mana.
Yeah, it's basically free on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like, you know, there's an anticipate that just has proliferate stapled on it. There's a couple other cards that I was like, they didn't cost this at all. Like, this is just free. So you get that first counter, and then you're like, hey, free free poison counter with my proliferate casting this other spell.
Right.
And you dealing 1 damage with 1 toxic put them to 19. It wasn't they were at 20 within 1 infect counter.
Right.
So for limited, I think you can get to 3, get corrupted turned on, and then if you don't get any further, that's fine.
Yep, I agree. And then we kind of already touched about constructed, right?
Yeah, I feel like the toxic cards they have spoiled thus far are pushed enough that I could foresee there being a toxic deck that could work.
Yeah, there's one card we're going to talk about that I think fits into this discussion.
Yeah, but
you could probably bring it up if you wanted to talk about it now.
Is this the Rot Boy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have Venerated Rot Priest.
Yep.
It's a green for a Phyrexian Druid. It's a 1/2. It has Toxic 1. And then I've read this multiple times to make sure I'm reading it right. So we're going to read it one more time before I talk about it. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter.
Right.
So I keep reading it because I feel like it should say that your opponent controls.
Nope, it's just a spell.
But no. So, right, this could be a situation where you like attack with this, and then you cast Tamiya's Safekeeping to protect it from a removal spell, and they get a poison counter.
Yep.
You cast Kayla's Onslaught, the 1 white sorcery that gives something double strike. You get a poison counter.
Yep.
Before you even do anything. So, right, this is just a card that is going to allow you to like sneak some poison counters. And like you don't have to get damage in, and like if you could play a game where you like got to 8 and then you're just like, oh, if I draw this and I play my 2 pump spells, I win. And you don't have to get any damage in.
Yep.
And like if you notice, they don't print a ton of double strike giving cards, but like in this whole standard currently, I don't know if there are any other than Kayla's. I think it's Kayla's Onslaught. I should probably look because I was looking up all the double strike cards before we started. But I think there's only one in standard that gives double strike. So there's a bad equipment. There's brass knuckles.
Oh, Nux is
Admittedly,
fun.
a bad.
I said Nux is fun.
Yeah, it's a bad equipment. It falls on team bad equipment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of creatures that have double strike. But yeah, Kayla's command. I'm sorry. His sorcery speed double strike. I guess you have lizard blades. That is a good equipment.
Oh yeah, lizard blades.
Jawbone duelist comes with double strike in Toxic 1 as a 1/1 for 2. Yeah. And that is
about it.
And then there is Twin Inferno in red. Yeah, we are running out of things that give double strike. There are very few things that give double strike in this standard format. I think because of Toxic.
Probably. It makes sense.
Right. You don't want to but this guy, you're just like, okay, I just need to get to 6, 7 poison counters, and then they have to kill this first. This is kind of like a Mother of Runes, right? Especially if they're at higher poison totals.
Right. They just lock themselves out of the game.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I have to kill that first, because if I don't, I can't kill anything else.
Yeah.
So it could eat a removal spell, get them a poison counter, and then clear the way for your other toxic creature.
Yep.
It is also awkward that it seems like green white is the toxic color.
Yeah, it's weird,
or
right?
green white black. 1, it's weird. 2, most of the double strike spells that are printed in modern Magic are in red.
Red, yeah.
So it's like, no, I would like to, if you wouldn't mind, give my things double strike. Why can't it be in the right color? Why do I have to play a 3-color deck to make this work?
Yeah.
Boo. So I think that you could have a constructed deck that works. I think I looked him up before. Fangbearer guy.
Yeah, Finn the Fangbearer.
Finn the Fangbearer that has effectively Toxic 2 and Death Touch. Give that boy double strike. You've done a lot of work quite quickly.
Yes.
Right? If you go rot guy, attack into Finn, and then you attack and you have a protection spell or a double strike spell, they're kind of almost dead on turn 3.
Yeah.
I mean, that feels good. I like how it makes me feel. so I'm down with that. Also, remember, Teamer Battle Rage is a card, and we have a 4/4.
That's true. Are there... I'm trying to think back to Strixhaven. Were there any cards that, copied themselves to target multiple creatures? Because that works with us, right? It doesn't say it has to be... It's not when you cast a spell, it's when you target a creature. So is there anything cheap that, lets you copy it?
Yes. I've got to look up the name of it. It was a white card that had Storm.
There's also Hometown
called.
Courage from Innistrad.
Oh yeah, that puts a counter
and then flashes
put
back.
a counter on it again.
Yeah, that's a cheap way to trigger this guy.
Yeah, I thought, did it not have Magecraft? So now I've got to look at this here.
Sorry, I'm derailing the conversation.
No. But it is a common or an uncommon from Strixhaven that it copied itself multiple times for each show of confidence. 1 on the white instant. When you cast a spell, copy it for each other instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn. You may choose new targets. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It gains vigilance at the end of turn.
Exactly.
So
and it's the right colors, right? If Toxic is green
white.
white.
Yeah, you could, you know, do something where you like cast 3 instants and then play this.
Yeah.
And then you just get a ton of targets.
I mean, realistically, you could Homestone Courage twice, or Hometown, whatever it is.
Yeah, Homestead Courage.
And then
then play this.
And then you got a Storm 3.
Mm-hmm. And this targets 3 more times, so then you've
Yeah.
put 5 counters on them.
Yeah.
Off of 2 cards.
Seems pretty good.
The only thing that's weird to say, right, is like, so in this case, absolutely, you're like living the dream, right? But you're like trying to find this balance of like, would it just be better if you're the Homestead Courage Show of Confidence deck to just be playing creatures, not with toxic, but like that it's more valuable that you're getting the +1/+1 counters.
Well, I mean, maybe, but this could also be an afterthought. Like that deck is going to be kind of close to like a White Weenie deck, where you're just playing a bunch of cheap stuff. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like one of the things about Toxic is it's just kind of thrown onto creatures and not necessarily like baked into the cost. Like that we have 2 undercosted green beaters with Toxic. They're just like,
and I mean,
a beat stick that would have been costed the same if it had Toxic or not.
I mean, there's the Jawbone guy that is effectively, so there, where's he at? Jawbone Duelist, 1 on the white for a 1/1 with double strike.
Mm-hmm.
That's just whatever fencer.
Right.
That we've had that card a million times.
Yeah.
For 1 on the white, 1/1 double strike, and we just gave this one toxic.
Yep.
Right. Or Annex Century, 2 and a white for like it enters and does like a what is he called? Brutal Cathar.
Mm-hmm.
But as a 1/4 with toxic 1.
Yep. And
right, like,
I mean, there's another card that we're going to talk about. I guess we can talk about it now. We're kind of merging the segments together. But we have, where'd he go? This guy. Skrill Defector Might. So
there you go.
1 mana, 1/1 toxic 1.
Yep.
This is the kind of card that would go into this. Like you would play this card anyway, and it has toxic 1.
And now it has more text. It can't block. It's a 1 mana 1/1. Who cares? But the reason it's interesting beyond toxic is if you're a toxic deck, you want to make sure your stuff gets in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this has a Phyrexian white mana. Tap, choose a color. Another target creature you control gains toxic 1. So if it didn't have toxic, now it does.
Mm-hmm.
And hexproof from that color till the end of turn, and can't be blocked by creatures of that color.
You got that partially right.
Did I get it wrong? Okay.
Well, it's not that you got it wrong. It's that the way the rules work is a creature can have toxic 1 twice.
Oh, it can.
Yeah.
So is it?
It's a trigger to when players dealt combat damage by this creature also gets a poison counter. So like that will happen twice.
Oh, so it like increases their toxic?
Right. It's not like flying where double instances of flying don't matter.
They're not extra. They're not extra high.
Right. They're not extra fast if it has double haste. But creatures with toxic 1, like toxic 1, will effectively be toxic 2.
Okay. So like a card like this, the toxic on it seems thrown on. This is like the Mother of Runes is the Legacy Mother of Runes.
Mm-hmm.
Then they were like, that's too good. We'll have Giver of Runes.
Stepmother of Runes.
Stepmother of Runes. And I don't know, this is like Stepmom's Cat of Runes. Right? Where like it's like each of these is kind of powered down for the format they were designed to be played in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this is a standard / like Pioneer Mother of Runes.
Right.
And they could have not put Toxic on it and not had it give your creature Toxic.
Right. And it probably would have been playable.
But they were like, meh, Toxic is a keyword in this set. We need to put it on random things.
Right.
And so this probably got that keyword when it shouldn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So if like the Toxic 1, so Jawbone Duelist could just like hit for 4 on turn 3.
Yep. That's pretty good.
That is nutty, as they say.
Yep. So that kind of leads into the last part of this conversation.
Okay.
We were specifically asked if Toxic will be an effective aggro strategy. And I think we just laid out the bones for what that deck would look like.
I think that there's a thing we have to be mindful of in modern Magic design. That sometimes they're just like, we want a deck to be standard playable.
Yeah.
And they just give you a precon.
Mm-hmm.
And you just are like, I guess I play all the cards that say thing on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Think about like energy.
Right.
Now, there were too many energy cards. There were like 3 different energy decks. Right?
Yeah.
But they made energy good enough that you just dumped all the cards, all the rares that said energy on it, and a couple of the uncommons, and you had a deck.
Yep.
And then the same thing with like Shadow over Innistrad, zombies.
Yep.
They were like, we would like a zombie deck, and over the course of like 3 sets, they just made a bunch of zombie cards.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Toxic's a little bit harder because they can't just throw Toxic in, Ixalan.
Right.
Right? And be like, oh, I guess we were missing 1 Toxic card. We'll stuff it in Ixalan. But we could get more in, like, March of the Machines.
Yeah.
Right? There's no reason that, like, once the robots win, that they also would not remain Toxic.
True.
Right? So you could have 2 sets of Toxic cards. But I think just like this guy plus the Rot Priest plus Jawbone Duelist plus what is he called? Bloat something or other.
Bloated Contaminator.
Bloated Contaminator, which is the 4/4 with Trample and Toxic 1 that then proliferates when it hits.
Yep.
I think all of these things together, like just that curve of like 3 rares and an uncommon, like that's kind of a deck.
Mm-hmm.
And it might, like, the problem is, I think I was talking about this in the pre-show, right? Kind of, if you're playing, like, a dumb tribal deck. Like, so I've been playing Elementals and Explorer, and then I, like, left my Elementals for some Flying Boys and Girls and played some Angels.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, your deck has a ceiling because they aren't printing that tribe all the time.
Right.
But they're printing busted black and red cards to go into black-red. They're printing busted blue and white control cards in every set.
Yeah.
So, like, Toxic might be good for Standard. Maybe even this might be good enough with, like, Finn the Fangbearer in
Explorer.
Like, Pioneer or Explorer.
Yeah.
But there's going to come a time pretty quickly where they're not printing more cards with Toxic.
Right.
Right? And the thing that let Infect stay relevant for so long was you didn't get a new Infect creatures, but they just forgot how to balance pump spells.
Yeah, you always got a new pump spell.
You always got something new that was like, oh, this is Become Immense. I guess I get like a 1 mana +6/+6. Oh, I get Blossoming Defense. I get a 1 mana hexproof, and it pumps.
Right.
We're not gonna get a like green white. You're not gonna get a white double strike in hexproof.
Right.
Right. That card's not okay. Knock on wood. That card is not getting printed. Right.
Hopefully not.
they have printed weirder things, but you're not going to get a card like that. You're never going to get that at like 2 mana.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not going to get the same like improvement of, hey, these creatures never change, but the pump spells keep up with power creep for a while.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're just kind of married to these toxic creatures, and when they kind of get outscaled,
yeah,
there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, so you're talking about more like non-rotating formats and like maybe standard as it goes forward, but what about like standard right now? Like this set drops next week.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think this might be a deck that's playable in standard? I think it's worth testing at least.
I think it's worth testing. My concern is like one of the best decks is mono black.
Yeah.
And that's just a pile of removal and like Liliana, which Liliana for like I'm gonna play like 1 or 2 creatures and try to ride them is like the worst thing imaginable.
Correct.
They kill your first creature and you're like, okay, we're gonna slam this, and I have my like hexproof spell, and they're like, gotcha.
Yeah.
You're like, oh well, that was awful.
They also gave Black a new toy to play with too that we're gonna talk about.
Yeah. And like blue-white soldiers is just like a pile of like creatures to get in your way.
Mm-hmm.
Athalion attacks you.
Skrillov, whatever, he helps that a little bit.
I think that there is probably enough there that it is playable, but I don't know like how good it's going to be based on like the other things in the format. But like,
and again, it's hard to tell when like we don't have all of the cards and haven't played.
Yeah,
when
we have
yet.
like, because they could do like the common and uncommon dump on like Thursday or whatever.
Yeah,
or I guess today for those of you listening to this, and they could like have like 4 more toxic cards, 2 ways to push like damage, and like a double strike card. And you're like, oh well, now I have kind of all the pieces.
Yeah,
to like make this work.
The one other thing that I think we can talk about just very briefly, and then we'll move on to some of the other cards, is that we have this new creature type, Might, and all Might's a token, and all of the Mights have toxic. It looks like they're trying to push Mights a little bit because we have a Might Lord. So I don't know. Like Might seems like a thing that would be like something cool they did for limited, and there's a couple different ways to get Might tokens or whatever. But we won't have those probably until the common uncommon dump. But there might, see what I did there?
Nah, I like it.
There might be some some commons or uncommons that would fit in a toxic deck that are kind of meant for limited Might strategies.
Raise the Might.
Yeah.
Make 1 mana, make 2 1/1 can't block toxic Mights.
Yep.
Right? I mean,
we got the Might Bitter Blossom.
Yeah, the can't block is the balance.
Yeah.
For like you. I mean, they kind of just printed it with the soldier that gives the 1/1 that like makes another 1/1 when it enters with flash. They kind of reprinted Raise the Alarm there.
Yep.
But like usually Raise the Alarm is too good. Right? But like if they can't block, right, you could do a 1 on the white 1/1 make 2 Mights with toxic.
Oh, we also have the signpost card for green white. Is green white for a 2/2 with toxic 2, and it buffs your toxic creatures when they attack.
And he would wear some double strike really nice, hitting for like 4.
Yep.
Also, like since toxic stacks, which I did not know.
Well, I'm assuming it stacks it. I mean, it reads like it would stack.
Okay, because I was gonna say that you have the prosthetic injector, which is a 1 mana equipment that equips for 1 and gives something toxic 1. So like if it stacks, being able to just like move extra toxic onto your things.
Yep.
So I'm guessing there will be. Oh, there's also viral spawning. 2 and a green, make a 3/3 beast token with toxic 1 with flashback.
Okay.
No, it's corrupted. They have to have 3 counters on them, but it flashes back for 2 and a green.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's a lot of like toxic bodies.
Yeah.
So no, I could see it being a like viable strategy, but not one that might get better in standard if they are like, they print the appropriate pump spells,
Mm-hmm.
but like longer term might be like difficult to do.
Yeah. Makes sense.
All right, so we've talked a whole bunch about toxic cards.
We did.
That was like a whole episode on just 2 cards.
Basically.
All right, so what are some of these other cards that we were going to talk about?
So the first one is Capricious Hellraiser. It's 3 red for a 4/4 Phyrexian dragon. And this card, this spell costs 3 less to cast if you have 9 or more cards in your graveyard. It has flying, and when it ETBs, you exile 3 cards at random from your graveyard, and you get to choose a non-creature, non-land card from among them and copy it, and you can pay the copy, or you can cast the copy without paying its mana cost. I thought this was relevant for like any of the Arclight Phoenix style decks, like the Spellslinger decks, where you're, just trying to cast a whole bunch of cantrips or, cheap burn spells or whatever to either trigger your Arclight Phoenix, trigger Prowess. That's stuff you want to have in your deck for Flip and Delver, which is currently legal in Standard, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is it called?
3 mana 4/4 flyer that like not only draws you a card but also casts it for free seems pretty good.
It draws you a card sometimes. Because this is at random. If it hits like 2 creatures in a land, it doesn't do anything.
That's true.
It's still a 3 mana 4/4 flyer.
If you're playing this deck though, if you have 9 cards in your graveyard, like this deck is probably going to have way more instants and sorceries than.
Presumably, you're going to hit 1.
Yeah.
Right. Like
this also is non-creature, non-land, so this also hits. For some reason, you have I don't know why you would have enchantments in your graveyard, but it has enchantments,
and
artifacts, planeswalkers. Yeah. It hits battles, whatever a battle is.
Ooh. I play my dragon and then we battle.
Yeah. Who knows what that is?
Yeah, like it is. Oh gosh, what is this? It's kind of a Bedlam Reveler.
A little bit.
Like Bedlam Reveler drew you cards, but it got cheaper to cast.
Yeah.
Like it could be the standard / like maybe Explorer / Pioneer, like Poor Man's Murktide Regent.
Mm-hmm.
Right, where you're just like jam, cheap counterspell, cheap interaction, like you said, and then just like, well, it's turn like 4 or 5. I guess we're just gonna like play this big guy and see if this is enough.
Yeah, I wonder like how close we are to just being mono red Phoenix, like in Explorer Pioneer.
That deck has been like playable-ish before.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was playable in Modern for a little bit, but like in Explorer, you now have Swift Spear.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy.
And Soul Scar.
And Soul Scar, yeah.
Yeah, and then you just play all of the like red draw a card.
Yeah, doesn't matter what it trample, first strike, whatever it is.
Yeah, and you're just 18 lands and all the red cantrips.
Yep.
Also, if you want to dip your toes into Historic, they have Dragon Rage Channeler.
They do.
Like that fills your graveyard right now.
Yep, in a hurry.
So
they also have Bobble.
No, they banned Bobble in Historic.
Did they ban it in Historic?
It was banned before it even got out.
All right.
And
Fair
that was
enough.
part of the reason that the collation for the Brothers War packs was messed up.
Oh, that's right.
Was
that's
because
right.
they banned it and then they forgot to put it in the Brothers Wars packs.
Yep.
It's a multi-billion-dollar company. Yeah, no, it's
Still
it's
can't
right
find
on the
Thibblethip.
still can't find it's right on the edge of like, I think that you have to play it and not be counting on the like randomly do something, because like if you're like, oh man, I'm always gonna try to do whatever, I don't know, enter the infinite, or like omniscience.
No, I mean, I was thinking it's fine even if it's just a cantrip that draws you a card, like a 3-mana 4/4 flyer that gives
draws
haste
a card
to something and draws a card gives this thing haste and draws a card. Like, yep.
Does it give haste?
No, isn't there like one of those red cantrips that gives haste?
Oh yeah. Like a Warlord's Fury or something. Yeah,
something.
It might be interesting, like in like a mono red prowessy deck. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That'd be interesting.
That's why I'm here, to make you think.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we have Jace.
Yeah.
The Perfected Mind.
So were you in Discord when I was talking about this guy?
I don't remember. I don't think, no.
So have you seen the artwork for like the rest of the Phyrexia Knight completed Planeswalkers?
Oh yeah. You basically were like, why does he just have some like little eye stalks and like one arm?
Yeah. Like Nahiri's got like giant flaming robo blades. And Nissa's like, I don't even know what's going on with Nissa. She's like half spider with like spires sticking out of her head. And like, I think Luca he's a centaur now. He's like a Phyrexian centaur.
Yeah, he's got some stuff going on.
Yeah. But like all these other planeswalkers are like super duper robot Voltron, whatever. And Jace is like, nah, man, I'm good with some ice stalks.
Yeah. Like, hey, they still need me to like sell sneakers. I can't be too messed up.
Just don't hurt my face. My face is too pretty.
I mean, but if you look at like a Johnny, when he was completed, a Johnny still looks like a Johnny, but like, I don't know, maybe he's a little bit more swole.
Well, like I meant more the ones, because like a Johnny and Tamio both like had to blend in with, they were like sleeper agents, so they had to pretend to be like not Phyrexian. But like all of the ones that got completed on New Phyrexia are like out of this world crazy, except for Jace.
Yes.
Like, no, dude, ice stalks. I'm good.
So a great Twitter exchange. For all of you, you should go look at the art for Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the letters between his hands, some could perhaps say that it spells out the C word.
Okay.
And Voxy was like, well, I'm glad new Jace is not calling me the C word anymore. And Carmen Handy replied, well, apparently you can't read Phyrexia.
That's pretty good.
I was like, that's pretty good. And then immediately I was like, I'm just kidding. That's not really what it says for Phyrexian. But
I mean, do we
know
like, what it
pretty
says?
Good. It's pretty
Maybe
good.
It does.
Maybe it does. They released an entire like primer on the Phyrexian language.
Wizards did, or because there was
Wizards
like a fan made thing that like people have been trying to decipher it. There was like a whole wiki that has been like fan done. Because it was a big deal when that Phyrexian scriptures came out in original Dominaria, because it had a whole bunch of Phyrexian language on it that I guess filled in a bunch of gaps.
Wizards printed a breakthrough in Phyrexian language and communications.
Oh, okay.
And it is they're showing the Phyrexian alphabet.
Okay.
And like basically the translation of like the Phyrexian alphabet to like the different this is how you speak Phyrexian. With like English letters and then some some of them are still English, some of them are Greek letters, but then some are like C with like the upside down caret to like indicate like how you would pronounce it, and then they have like, hey, these words are nasally said. These words are ejective or clanked. So they have the whole breakdown on how you
speak
Phyrexian.
Weird.
Yeah. So we could figure that out, but that sounds like work.
Yeah.
So Jace the Perfected Mind, 2 white, blue Phyrexian mana, has completed. And so it comes in with 5 loyalty. If you paid the 2 and a blue, it would only come in with 3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 2 and a blue and 2 life. +1 until your next turn, 1 target creature gets neg 3, neg 0. Which, on turn 3 a few years ago would have effectively meant that there were no creatures with power to attack Jace.
Correct.
It's now. It'll still have some power. It'll be a 2 power creature.
Right.
-2, target player mills 3 cards, and if a graveyard has 20 or more cards in it, you draw 3 cards. Otherwise, you draw a card. So the -2 is someone mills 3 and you draw, and then if it's late in the game, they mill 3 and you draw 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Ancestral Vision? No, Visions of Beyond?
Yeah, I think so.
The old blue, like, spell that was draw 1 blue, draw a card. If it was at 20 cards or something in the graveyard, you drew 3.
Yep.
And then neg X, target player mills 3 times X cards.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be a 4 mana mill 15.
Yeah. And I don't think that's good, is it?
I was gonna say it's fine.
I think that's underrate for mill, though, isn't it?
Tasha's Hideous Laughter is, like, I think somewhere around there on average.
Okay.
But it's 3 mana.
Yeah.
So yeah, you are right. It's not, I don't think it is a great rate.
Yeah. So I don't think that that's really ever going to matter, except for maybe in limited games. The reason I put this on the list is I would be interested in a 3 mana, 3 loyalty planeswalker. I think that we always need to look at 3 mana planeswalkers. But a 3 mana, 3 loyalty planeswalker that is mostly a fog if it comes down on turn 3. I mean, you're right. We're not living in the same world that we used to, and there's still going to be, a little bit of spillover there. But to go up and basically bubble something seems pretty good.
Yeah, was it Living Guild Pact? Was the ability? One of the Jaces.
So.
And like that was like really effective.
Except I think that was neg 2 nego, not neg 3 nego.
Yeah, I don't know.
Architect of Thought?
Maybe it's Architect of Thought.
Living Guild Pack wasn't very good. Nobody played it.
Yeah, maybe it's Architect of Thought because that was, here it is. Till your next turn, whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks against neg 1, neg 0 is Architect of Thought.
But that's all creatures.
Whenever a creature, yeah, so all creatures got small.
Did JVP do this on +1? That was neg 2 nego? I think JVP did.
Yeah, maybe JVT on JV, and then Living Guild Pack was Living Trash Pack.
Yeah.
Jace was Living Telepath Unbound was neg 2 neg 0.
Yeah. And
like that was effective.
Yeah. But also like for a control deck, if you're plussing up to, buy time, buy tempo, preserve your life total, whatever, and then later in the game you get to like every other turn draw a card. Like, once there's nothing left to bubble.
Yeah, or like you're playing Supreme Verdict, and you like clear the board, and you're just like, you get to 20 cards, and you're like neg 2, draw 3.
Yeah,
like the game ends.
Yep.
Or you're like plus. Okay, mill whatever 24. Yeah, and the game's gone long enough that is like an actual like win condition.
Yeah.
At that point. So like there's a chance that like let's say you're like, you censor their 2-drop, you play Jace, you down tick, you draw a card, you mill them for 3. Then they play a non-haste nerd, right? There's a lot of 3-mana haste nerds, but let's say they play a non-haste nerd. Then you just get the plus on it, and effectively they can't attack with it. It doesn't do anything. Or it does like 1, and your Jace is like still just chilling out at like 2 loyalty. And that you just kind of like keep them in that cycle till you like draw a Wandering Emperor.
Yep.
To then eat the thing when they attack with it. Yeah, like it makes sense. And then like this into Wandering Emperor, where now you've shrunk their thing and they have to like run it into a samurai.
Yeah. Run it into a threat of a samurai.
Yeah. Like it seems like,
I mean, you can just bluff the Wandering Emperor at that point.
Yeah, this seems like it does enough at 3 mana.
Yeah.
At 4 mana, I don't think it's impressive.
No,
but at 3 mana, it's probably good.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I wanted to highlight is, I think all of the other, up until this was spoiled, I think all of the other completed Planeswalkers you read as the mana value, and then like the Phyrexian mana was just kind of a bonus. I think this one is the other way around, where you read it as a 3 mana Planeswalker, and then I don't know that you ever really cast this as a 4 mana Planeswalker. I guess like if it's turn 20 or whatever, it doesn't matter. But this, I think, is more of a 3 mana Planeswalker than some of the other ones were.
And there's also as we've seen, right? This is a really good play on 5, where you play it on 3 and you leave up 2 mana.
Yeah.
Right, to make them to like counter a spell or to have a removal spell.
Yeah.
And right, like if you only have a 3-power creature, this then forces you to go wide, which then plays into sweepers.
Oh, you know what else I just thought? This also clears a brainstorm.
Oh, it does, yeah.
Not that that's super relevant, but it is a thing. This is a way to unbrainstorm lock yourself in Historic.
Is Brainstorm still in Historic?
Yeah. Oh, no, maybe it got banned.
No, it's banned.
Yeah.
It's banned. But they didn't put Lightning Bolt in. It would have been too good.
That's right.
But Brainstorm, it's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think you're selling me at 3 mana.
Yeah.
I think like it could do some stuff. And even at higher, when you have more mana, having the flexibility of like I can keep, like it's kind of not nearly as powerful as Teferi Hero Dominaria, but like the I have 5 mana, play this on for 3.
Right.
Have a Planeswalker plus now have interaction has kind of proven to be very good. So yeah, I can get behind that. Speaking of 3 mana Planeswalkers,
we have Nahiri the Unforgiving with the giant flaming robo blades for arms. She doesn't have any hands anymore.
She's all knives, man. All she wants is she just wanted swords.
So how's she open her Dr. Pepper, with a sword?
You just cut it in half.
Yeah, but then how do you drink it? You don't have any hands.
I think when you have swords for hands, you're able to recruit minions to do simple tasks for you.
Minion,
open my
the
Dr. Pepper
in my mouth.
No, and you like decapitate the first minion. Then the second minion opens your Dr. Pepper and gets you a straw.
Gotcha.
Right, doesn't even have to ask.
All right.
Like 3 hours later, they're like, "You look a little parched."
would you like a Dr. Pepper?
Exactly. When you have sword hands, the world opens up to you.
Or you open it.
Or you open the world. Everything's a can of tuna at that point.
That's right.
just get to oh, you have the biggest can opener. Right? If you have a hammer, everything's a nail.
Yep.
If you had sword hands, everything's a can of tuna you can open. All right, so
Nahiri the Unforgiving is 1 red-white and Phyrexian hybrid red-white for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker with completed. You know what completed does, so we're not going to talk about that. +1 is until your next turn, up to 1 target creature attacks a player each combat if able. Another +1 discard a card, draw a card. And 0, exile target creature or equipment card with mana value less than Nahiri's loyalty from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of that creature. It gains haste. Exile at the beginning of the next end step. So the reason that I wanted to talk about this card is when I first read it, and I would imagine when a lot of people first read this, like Nahiri protects herself.
She does by sacrificing your life total.
Right. You can't.
Which is fine.
Yeah. I mean, if your game plan is to get Nahiri out, they will not be attacking Nahiri with the biggest thing that they have, because it will be attacking you instead. Which I think is something a lot of people will miss the first time reading this card. But also, this is like a weird take on a reanimation planeswalker in non-traditional reanimation colors.
White has gotten more reanimation as of late, but you're right. It is a weird like red-white mashup of like it's a token with haste that you got to reanimate. So like the white is the reanimate, and the make it a token with haste is the red part of it, kind of.
Yeah. It's kind of like and it's a 0 ability, so you're not like losing loyalty to do it. But it's kind of similar to like God Pharaoh's Gift almost, where it's just like a thing you get to do every turn, and the other +1 fuels it, where you get to put your nerds in your graveyard from your hand.
There is a certain combat celebrant.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you just get to, like, take an extra attack step with it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't care that it, like, that it goes away.
Right.
So, like, with Combat Celebrant Nahiri, it's just, like, take an extra combat step.
Yep.
Also, like, there was kind of a Naya reanimation deck in Standard with Invoke Justice. Nahiri's a really good way to get cards in your graveyard. Like, it's a situation where you Fable the Mirror Breaker into a Nahiri, and then you're gonna find something. If you look at like 5 cards over the course of 2 turns, you're gonna find something to bring back with your Invoke Justice. Also, if Nahiri brings back a Titan of Industry, you get left with a 4/4.
I mean, you really got to put some work in and bring back a Titan with Nahiri, though.
It's the 3rd turn she's out.
Yeah.
Right? You're like down, plus 0.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you cast her for 4.
Yeah, if you cast her for 4. But like, it is a good way to put, things in your graveyard to then feed to your other reanimation spells, right? You put your Titan into the graveyard, then you Invoke Justice it.
Yeah.
You but then Nahiri could get you something. Maybe it's only creature or equipment,
right?
Which is awkward. I guess the equipment, since they have 4 Mirrodin,
leaves something behind.
Leaves you a toy behind to block with.
Yeah.
So, not the end of the world. Not that I think you're building a 4 Mirrodin equipment deck.
Right. No, I thought she was a really interesting 3-mana planeswalker, though. Again, I don't know that you're. I mean, maybe you're interested on casting this for 4, but at 4 mana, you start to overlap with the reanimation spells.
Aren't they all at 5 though?
Well, no, isn't there a white 3 and a white?
And that's refurbish for older formats.
Oh, okay.
And so, Invoke Justice is 1.
Was it Late for Dinner?
Late for Dinner is Modern Horizons.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Pauper and in Modern.
Yeah.
But so in Standard you have Invoke Justice 1 white, and then you have Recover and Repair or something, which is 1 white, 3 white, but it only gets artifacts, enchantments, or planeswalkers.
Yeah.
So But like you could definitely have a curve of this into discard your beef and then have one of your like reanimation spells on 5 to get it back.
Yeah. How much does that Blinking Angel cost? Is that 5 mana?
Blinking Angel?
Yeah. The angel that comes in and blinks something.
Resto?
No, there was one in, was it Kaladesh?
6.
6.
Is it Wisp-Weaver Angel?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of. Because I wonder like how many of that thing can like exist in a deck where you like Nahiri back a Felidar Guardian and then blink Nahiri and then Nahiri back something and then blink Nahiri. You guys should see Brian's eyes right now.
I think Felidar Guardian is banned in Explorer.
Oh, probably.
Because they had to ban something, right?
Yeah.
They had to ban Saheeli or Felidar Guardian.
Yeah.
And Felidar Guardian took the ban in Pioneer. But the reason my eyes got big is because you can Felidar Guardian, but then you get into clones.
Oh yeah.
Right, so then but then you have to have a graveyard full of clones.
Well, I mean, you're going to be filling your graveyard anyway.
True.
So, like, it doesn't really matter what you fill your graveyard with.
Glasspool Mimic,
yeah,
cost 3. All the clones are at 4.
Yeah.
So like Nahiri could just 0 on every clone in your graveyard, and just make a ton of clones, but
and they all have haste.
And they all have haste. They're all 1/4s with haste.
Well, that's why I was thinking that Angel is
a 4/4.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you would just need it out for like a turn.
Yeah.
But you would have to have a very particular set of cards in your deck.
Well, you'd have to have it out for 2 turns.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah,
plus and then 0, right?
Well, because if it was 6, it would die before it could get blinked.
What do you mean? Oh, is it return at the end of turn?
You're right. I'm sorry. I was thinking it was a -6. It's not. It's a 0.
I was gonna say, I thought that too when I first read it. I was like, oh wait, no, this is definitely not a.
Yep.
It's just a 0.
It's a 0. I forgot that.
Yeah, so Wisp-Weaver Angel just blinks something.
Yep. That might be a fun deck too, though.
It's kind of like the Garuda deck.
Mm-hmm.
But with a Nahiri instead.
Yep.
All right, what else do we got? Because we promised an hour, and we are at an hour 10.
Well,
We're giving the people
we
more
can
than
save the rest for next week if you want to.
Yeah, let's save the rest. We'll just give them a. We talked about Toxic more than we had planned on.
We did. That's all right though, because we had a bunch of questions about it. So.
Yep.
So yeah, let's call it here, and we'll save the rest for next week.
Yeah, with that, I think we have a show. We have more than a show.
Yeah, more than a show.
So,
hope you guys enjoyed it.
This is your chance to program next week's episode. So if you have some cards that are as spoilers end that you're like, hey, I'm curious about this card or that card, then ask us.
Yeah.
So get at us on social media and be like, hey, I want to know about this card, and we will let you know.
Yeah, the cards I picked today, I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about. I was trying to pick cards that I could talk about in maybe a little bit different light than people would have guessed when they first read the card. I think Jason Nahiri certainly fit that bill, where they don't quite read what they do. But even the Dragon, I think, is a little bit better, and people were given credit for it also. So yeah, I hope you like that. And if you got any more ideas you want to hear us talking about, let us know on social media. If you guys are looking to support the show, like always, there's 2 ways you can do it. The first is our TCG Player affiliate link, and the second is Patreon, patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. I guess I should tell you the affiliate link. The affiliate link is tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. Head on over there, order whatever you're going to order, and you support the show at really no cost to you just by clicking the link. As far as Patreon goes, you can chip in as much or as little as you want to. Whatever you think we're worth, whatever enjoyment you get out of the show, you can give back to us, and we would really appreciate that. In return, we don't have a whole lot to offer, but we do offer the show notes, so you get a sneak peek about what's coming next. We offer our pre-show, which is another hour of us kind of catching up, making sure our equipment works. And you also get put on my list for givebacks. If you've been hanging out in Discord, a couple of our patrons posted up what they got for their giveback. They seem pretty excited about it. So if
it was pretty good.
Yeah, if you guys want in on the action, head on over to patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG and sign up.
Yeah. So with all of that, we will catch you on the internet.
We'll catch you on the internet.